Okay, friends, we have a lot to share. First, I just want to share something from Yonatan Rosenblum, one of my favorite authors, current authors, and he writes here, "The Art of Listening." I think this is just worthwhile to share for a second, a few minutes. A few months back, I began corresponding on a semi-monthly basis with one of my closest law school friends. Rabbi Yonasan is maybe 72 today, so we're going back a long time. But I haven't seen close to 50 years. That makes sense. And one of his first missives, so this is, I don't know if it's a religious person or a secular person who was writing this, but he made an important observation based on his career at Goldman Sachs and Blackstone. I think everybody knows that Goldman Sachs and Blackstone are two of the most successful companies. Every one of the most brilliant people he met, the one in a thousand minds, was a superb listener. This is great. This is not people who learn the Mishnah and Avos. This is people who were the most brilliant minds in these outstanding companies that this person met. The one in a thousand minds. What was it about these one in a thousand minds? Superb listening. Because each of them knew that no matter how smart or knowledgeable a person is, no one knows everything. And one can always gain from the knowledge and perspective of others. Just one example, one of the keys to George Washington. That was the first president of the United States. Before President Trump, there was someone named George Washington. People forgot. He was the first president. He was commander in chief. First in war, first in peace, and first in the hearts of his countrymen. I don't think they said that about anybody else. One of the keys to George Washington's success in general in the Revolutionary Wars was openness to the suggestions of subordinates. Okay. Um, and then he goes on and says, really, it's about building relationships, but that's not for us. I just wanted to share that. I thought it was so meaningful that, as always, the truth of the Torah is substantiated. Not that it needs to be substantiated, but it gives us a chizuk when it is substantiated from outside sources. And this person, very likely secular, certainly talking about a secular reality, seeing the one in a thousand minds are superb listeners because they know they have to listen to others. Very special. So back to our topic, which was again the idea of asking everyone. I just want to say, really emphasize what I said last time, and I'm going to emphasize in the Kabbalah, is that I got a tremendous amount of this topic. It opened up for me one that I am further from Eitan than I thought I was, which was very meaningful because that's not necessarily a happy thought, but it's not about being happy. It's about learning about ourselves and growing to realize that on the one hand, on my banner, I would say that I'm definitely into asking Eitzah, but practically it doesn't happen that much. That's something you have to improve in. And there's a great benefit in asking Eitzah from not just the brilliant people and not just the Rabbeim, not just the Torah scholars, but as Rabbi Yerucham said to us, and that's really the Evan Musad, is ask a simple person in the shuk outside, and they'll tell you, and that's really, it opens us up. And as I said, I saw myself when I did it, it was very meaningful. And I think the idea is just more and more we have to make that a habit. It has to be habit forming. I am someone who asks, we're going to put that in the Kabbalah. First, we're going to have a two-part Kabbalah today. I'll just give everybody a little peek where we'll be in 20 minutes or so, in 15 minutes. So you won't have to wait with bated breath. But I think that we have to continue with that as much as we can over these busy times and special times, Purim and the war and everything like that. Yeshua Hashem, Hashmanas Ha'oivim, etc. But you have to ask Eitzah. Ask Eitzah. When I'm talking to myself, mamish, here more than I usually talk to myself. Go to people, ask them. You're on the line. You never know what someone's going to share with you. You're at the wedding. You're on the line at the grocery store. Don't look like a meshugana, but as long as you don't look like a meshugana, people are going to like it. 90% of the cases. Ask someone like, "What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about the other?" You're going to hear things, and it's going to open you up to people's wisdom. And we said everybody's wise. And I want to repeat what I said last week, which I think was so meaningful. I think I mentioned this is that we talk about lo mikol adam, but when do you do it? So I always thought lo mikol adam was passive. When they show me something of wisdom, I'll be open to it. No. Lo mikol adam, ask them. Okay. So on both sides, we have one, two, three sessions left. This is one. Besides this one, we have another two, Bezrat Hashem, till the end of this month. And I want to share, which I think will be our final definition of Chachma. And we'll try something else, right? We could work more on that, but I think we got that idea there. And for sure, there's what to expand and work on. But I think the idea is just keep asking, keep getting into the habit, and be open to what you're going to find. You're going to find things. So we have no less than the Rambam for our final definition. Lead Ender, of course, on our final in 2 weeks. I'll definitely try to give a little bit of a sikkim of all of what we've seen. I don't think we're going to go further with this topic in the summer. I think it's time to move on. But the Rambam has Hilchos Deis, right? The Rambam, Rabbeinu Rambam, is the Rambam. And he writes here, I'm going to skip a little bit, but this is in Hilchos Deis, which is something which you all have to learn. I haven't learned it myself in a long time. I refer to it often, but I haven't learned it well in a long time. I've never learned as well as I could. So let's learn part of it well. Deus harbi yesh l'chol echad ve'echad. Deus, concepts, ideas, midos, etc. See, it's the very fact that Rambam calls what he calls his Deus is significant. So everybody has them, and they're very, very different. Some person is very, very angry, and someone is very, very calm. He never gets angry. It does get angry. It's once in a few years. And someone has a tremendous level of gaiva, and someone is very, very modest, and someone has a lot of taiva, a lot of desires. He never gets satisfied, and someone is tar, beguf bioser, someone is very, very not like that, and he doesn't even want small things, seguf tzarklem, he doesn't even need water, doesn't need anything, etc. He goes on and on. Now, v'yesh bein kol dea v'dea harachokim menu k'tzea achaz, deas beininus, zoruch mizah. I don't know how to read that. But the next part I want to read, I think we'll see that idea again in clearer form. Clear to us, not to the Ram, is all clear. Sometimes your day is just how you were, what we call like an inborn characteristic. That's that's also a deya in the Rambam. And there's certain ways you are, certain things you're very close to. Yet Deus, and there's certain things that are there from the beginning, that aren't there in the beginning, but you learned it from others, right? Or you figured out yourself that according to the machshava that came to you, or you heard that it was good. So meaning the source of Deus comes from all different places. Sometimes just naturally the way you are, mamish the way you are. Sometimes it's something that you're just very ready to do. Sometimes it's something which is far from you, but you read in a book or from a Torah source, you heard from someone, this is how you should act. So now, okay, so that's Deus, Midos Deus. The two, and here's where the Ram gets to one of his chidush. The two endpoints, the two tzavas, the bookmark, not bookmarks,
Extremities.
the two extremities, the bookends. The bookends, ain't a derech tova. That's not a good way to go. And you shouldn't do this and not to teach yourself it. And if you find yourself that you're ready for one of them, or you've already adopted one of them, you have to return to the middle. Because the middle, Haderech Yeshara, the straight way is the Midah Beinus, is between. And what is that? What's the Derech Yeshara? The Derech Beinus? He had Deya Shirachoka Mishnei Haktsavas. It's far from either extremity. Richak Shava, in an even way. Veda Krovaloza Luza. It's not next to either extremity. Lafikach, Savu Chacham Rishon Shea Adam Sam Deos of Tamid. Therefore, Chazal told us always have to evaluate your midos, your deos. Misharos and Mechuvanos and Bederachim Tzois Kidei Shei Shalim. And get it back to the middle so you can reach completion. Ketzad. Lo yeah. Now let's see this. Let's see one example. What it looks like. Don't be a balchem of an ochelechos. V'lo kameshin umargish elebainity. Meaning, a person can be someone who is like so emotional, right? Sometimes people we like that are very, very emotional, they get very angry a lot, also, right? I think maybe the continuum in the realm right now is not anger. I think it's like getting emotional, getting moved by things. I think that's what it is, right? Because maybe not. Maybe it's anger. I don't know. Maybe it's anger. Yeah, yesh in here, but right? You have to think about it. But he says you can have a person who's the reason never gets angry because he doesn't feel anything. Let's go back to angry. Let's make it simple, right? So you have a person who gets very, very angry, right? Everything that happens, he blows up. You have someone who doesn't feel anything, right? Meishin margish eleveni. Lo yichos. Now, what's it mean? What's the right way? Lo yichos el davar gadol shorei lechosol. But you can't get angry about something that's fit to get angry about in order that someone doesn't do it the next time. Right? So it sounds like you it sounds like in here in the realm, it's not that you're making anger. Your kid does something which is really, really extreme, or your student or your colleague, right? You see your colleague does something, takes a gamble on losing a lot of the company's money, and you do get angry at him, right? It's not it shouldn't be that you say like, oh my kid's Michal Shabbos, all right, whatever, we're modern parents, cool, Sonny. No, no, but you don't get angry at everything, and you don't. It has to be the things which move you towards anger. V'chein lo yisavel l'dvarim shaguf tzart lem. V'yev shalichil bezulasan. Can you remember tzadik lochel nafsho? Right. So it means a Baal Taiva is someone who has Taiva for Isser. And then there's someone who doesn't feel anything inside of himself. No, that's the way. You have Taiva, he says. Lo yisavel l'dvarim shaguf tzart lem. For what the body needs, I let myself feel. Let yourself feel the Taiva. Right. You need to eat lunch, and you feel yourself, salivating around lunchtime, whatever. You don't have to break that and say, I don't want lunch, right? But it's not being, my mind isn't on food the whole time. Yeah, that's the mida baininess, etc. Now, here's where we're getting to. Now, let's see one more example. Lo yeh mehulal v'sochek. Don't be a joker all the time. Lo etzevonin, right? Person could be making jokes, everything is light to him, and a person could be down, sad. No. Ella sameach koyama benachas b'sever panim yafos. This is Givaldi. That itself needs work. You're always happy in a friendly, nice, gentle way, kind of. Benachas b'sever panim yafos. Right, presentable and happy in a calm, friendly exterior. Be not joking, jestful, etc. Now, the Chen Shar Deosav, the Derech Zu. Now watch, we're going to see it twice in the room. Derech Zu, Derech HaChachamim. This is the Derech of the Chachamim. And he continues, Kol Adam Shedeosav Kulon Deos Beinonios, Mumutzos, the person who's reached that his Deos are all in the middle, Nikra Chacham. That's a Chacham. So for both sides, we have another definition of Chacham. A Chacham is someone who is Lo Mikol Adam. A Chacham is someone who's Shomei Eitzah, right? A Chacham is someone who is Makir Makomo. I don't think we went into that one. What was the first definition of Chacham we went into?
Rosh Hanolad.
Rosh Hanolad. Chacham is Rosh Hanolad. The Ram tells a new definition of Chacham. A Chacham is someone who goes there in the Middos Baininess. Now, to give this a little feel, I just want to look at peek at the next halacha. Omisha medaktik alatzmo biyoser. B'yisrachek mideya beininus ma litzadzel nikra chassid. Wow. Then there's a chassid. So the Rambam is clear. You're supposed to be a chacham. You're supposed to be beininus, but there is a chassid. Kate said, "Mishi yisrachek migovel ibarik tzeachron v'yishavel ruach b'yoser nikra chassid." Zumi is a chassidus. Right? Someone who just like Moshe Rabbeinu, you call Moshe a chassid. Right? Someone who thinks, I never need covered, I never need anything, I'm zero, I'm nothing. That's a chassid. Now, so what's the pshat? So it's interesting. In the Msil Sharm world, it's tzaddik and then chassid. Right? Here in the Rambam, it's chacham and then chassid. And Chacham is for sure, but it's Chassid. So one thing, is Chassid not good? You can't say Chassid is not good. So what is it? So I was thinking like this: to be a Chassid, it could be, I'm not sure I'm using the right words. So, as they say in Hebrew, Al titfosati b'milah, and I'm kind of working this out together with everybody. My initial look at things. I saw this Rambam a few months ago. I said we have to deal with this Rambam once. And but it's certainly not my sophist on this Rambam, and I'm just learning. But it seems to me like a chassid is kind of like a little meshugana, in a certain way. I mean, in a good way. There are people who are balanced and who are chachamim and everything's in its place. But sometimes the people who really change the world, the people who reach the highest heights, are a little bit crazy, right? Let's put it into a sports muscle. Right? To be an Olympic athlete is crazy, right? It's one thing you want to be healthy. It's another thing you want to compete. It's another thing to dedicate yourself for 4 years to anything, right? That's a crazy thing. Person wants to make money. That's understandable. The person wants to that's crazy. I don't want to judge it right now, right? I'm just obviously we don't advise students in yeshiva or ourselves to be Olympic athletes or to be crazy wealthy. But there's certain thing like now also in ruchnias, there's certain thing like a person says like no, I'm going to go out of sof, and sometimes those people must be noted are the end up the gedolim, right? Sometimes those people end up and there's been something a little bit crazy about them and a good crazy. Or no, why was a little bit crazy. You know what I mean? It wasn't balanced. Eshnar, you didn't see balance. One of Rabbi Weinberg's close told me to get scream and said one time, Chazal say, tafastam rubel tafas. He said, I'm not going to like that one. I'm not going to go with that one so much, to change, and Rav changed the world, right? It was, we have to change the world, and you guys are going to do it. These guys are going to do it. Bali Tshuva are going to do it. They didn't know anything till they were 25. They're walking around with long hair. They're going to change the world. Yeah, he's changed the world. So that's a chassid in a certain way. It could be. Now that doesn't. Now where does that put a person? We're learning to be a chacham. I just wanted to point that out. I thought it was interesting. It needs more work, but I wanted to point out just to show what a chacham is. A chacham has it balanced, and well, let's think. If I send this couple like this, maybe the shalom bayis is gonna be off, or their kids aren't going to do well. But the chassid sees like, no, there's no choice that's imbalanced, right? But that's somehow right. If I'm that univistic, if I'm that shuffle, maybe people are going to walk over me. They don't see those cheshbonis. The balance is always to bring things into focus, and it might be I don't know. In other words, is the deeper Ratzon Hashem that you have to look through the Rambam well because this derech emphasizes is called the derech Hashem. So it feels to me in the Rambam that they're both dracham amitim, both lechatchila. The chacham is definitely lechatchila, and the chassid is definitely lechatchila. It's very interesting. In the Ramchal, tzaddik and chassid is clear. The chassid is on a higher level than the tzaddik. I'm not sure the chassid is on a higher level than the chacham. It could be just it's a different mahalach and avodas Hashem. It's like Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai might be a perfect example of that. Hanig ben bin derech eretz. Rabbi Shmuel is a derech l'rabim, a good derech l'rabim, and he's right. We pass like Rabbi Shmuel, b'pashtus. But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai might tahara tehela. If you don't have Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the world, so the world's going to be empty. So who's right? It's different. It's different. Could be neshamas. Baruch might made some like chachamadik in neshamas, and he might have made some chasadik in neshamas. I don't know. You have to look at the Rambam by the way he talks. Right? Again, the Teva is to say no for sure. Chassid is greater than chacham, but the Rambam says great things about being a chacham. That's a derech Hashem, and people always going to that way, and that's the way to look for. So why is the chassid? So chassid is worse than the chacham? That doesn't sound right. But it does sound like chassid is definitely not higher than the chacham. Okay, so Rosa, it was just a little bit of
the proof is because it's called derech Hashem and it's not mistaber.
Yeah. Not just that. He says that's what Avram did. He says that's what Avram did. It's called valachta b'drachav. He calls the chassid lifnei mishur siddim, but this is halachta b'drachav. It's so strong, and this is the way of a kaddish baruch hu. So it's Mao Kaddish, Mikra Kaddish, Abatei Kaddish. Means we're talking the Rebbeinu Shalom that way. So that's the question. So I'm just putting it out there. It sounds like Chacham, and again, as I said, it's just initial look at the Rambam, but don't give a fast answer to this Rambam. It's a strong thing. So, but we're now focusing on being Hasidim right now. We're focusing on being Hasidim, being Chachamim. So we learned a new thing from the Rambam, which I would have never thought. Until now, we said, Chacham is someone who grows a know a certain perspective you have. A Chacham is someone who learns from other people. Chacham is someone who's Shol Eitzah. We saw the pasuk. Now we see a different thing. A Chacham is someone whose middos are all b'derech emtzais. So what is that? Why does this need chachma? So I think maybe this is the simple shot. I would say it needs a lot of wisdom to be balanced. Everything is part of the picture, right? Let's say about a kanai in the negative sense of the word, right? I mean, he just sees like it's my way, the highway, and everybody's not lifting my day is puzzle or tray for this, that. From I always like to use the example from is fanatically religious on one side. M is the modern, and there's you. I'm right. The fanatic religious, the modern person. They're off, and it's hard to see the balance in things. Means a person has to see that stud them in everything and then balance it out. Wait. Kas is always wrong. Just get rid of it. Gaiva is always wrong. Get rid of it. Taiva is always wrong. Get rid of it. Gaiva's always, no. Wait. That's not the no. You have to see there's a place for Taiva, and you have to see there's a place for Kas. Right? If you're Machal Shabbos in front of you, if your kid is Machal Shabbos, you don't react at all. And you don't show shocked or something. You're not moved. So you're not. That's going to be a problem in chinuch. So you have to have that. You have to have that kas in you. You're just going to be shuffled everywhere and let people walk over you. What's going to be with Kabbalah Torah? What's going to be with leadership? Who am I to lead? Who am I to tell any? Who am I to advise any Rabbeim whether they should come in or not when we have a war? Like I don't know. I can't give advice to anybody. I can't say anything. I can't. Who am I to do anything? Then so that's easy to say that in a certain way. But the chachma is wait. No. I have to lead. I have to lead my family, each person his way. Who am I to tell my wife anything? Who am I to tell my kids anything? They're also good. Where my kids are smart, they learn in Cheder, or they learn in Beis Yaakov, they learn this. Who am I to say anything to my kids? Who am I to say anything to? Who am I to tell someone talking in shul to be quiet? Right? No, that's easy. Or no, I'm going to be the shul monitor. The one everybody hates. I'm going to go and tell everybody in shul that they're making mistakes all the time. And the gabbes, those guys, the gabbe messed up here, Baltfila messed up there, the Balkari messed up here. You don't like the schedule, you don't like anything. You're annoying. You're annoying. So I just pull back. I don't get involved. No, but then things are lacking in shul. So that's the point. I think it's the being kitzoni. We're not talking about being a chassid. Let's leave that aside. But being kitzoni, one being not, is not b'der chachma. The chacham has to pull all those stuff together and figure out what the right way is. So the one who acts in that way is working with a tremendous amount of wisdom in his actions. Does that make sense? Right? I never have any confrontation. Example I always love to give, right? I don't confront people. That's it. I don't confront people. Wait, but someone's acting inappropriately, and he's not doing the right thing. He's hurting someone in the neighborhood. I can't say anything. It's not I'll never tell anybody off. Or I'll tell everybody off. Okay, you want me to tell people off? So I'll tell everybody off. I'll tell you off. I'm telling you off for telling me to tell people off. Wait, that's not chachma. Wait, that's your emotions are being shouldered on you, and you just want to go one way or the other, make life simple. But then there's the middle, which is difficult. So it could be that's what the Ram is saying. So we learned the davar gadol mode today. A new definition, which we have to work on a little bit. And I think it's kedai to spend the next 3 weeks on this, right? Yeah. How much we learn a new derek, the derek baininess again, whether it's my parish or something else, but the Rambam definitely says, and it's open for everybody to see, Hilchos Deis and Sefer Mada. It's not a secret sefer, it's not Kabbalah. Everybody could look it up. I think the Rambam, I think it was something, honestly, I think it was something that was from the Greeks. Also, I think the Rambam got the basic idea. I think I've heard that before. I'm no Indian to be told of the Rambam the Greeks, but I think it was an idea which the obviously the Rambam was built in Mishnayos, Derek Yishar, Shavar Allah Adam, but the idea of the Beinidus, I think, was something that was discussed there. So this is an idea which is part of our Masorah and part of the world Masorah, so to speak. The idea of going in the Midas Beinidus, as the Rambam says, right? Not that I'm angry all the time, not that I'm never angry, not that have no taiva, not that I'm about taiva, right? That my Beinidus, and I've tried to explain why I think that relates to Chacham, because I think only a Chacham can, listen carefully, only a Chacham can realize the different stadim of emes in the different things. Through Chachma, you see that there is a time to be confrontational, time not to be confrontational. Through Chachma, you see there is a time to have kas, time not to have kas. Through Chachma, you see that there is a time to have taiva, not to have taiva. And then the Chacham has to mukavin and figure out where's the right point, as opposed to just going in a certain way, the easier way, the more emotional way, the less chachmadik way, which is just I only have one thing in my arsenal. I don't pull things together, and that's it. That's my understanding. So both sides. So here I have a two-part Kabbalah. Part one is I want everybody should continue with the idea of an Eitzah because we want to make that a habit. I don't think we should lose that idea. I think we have to keep building with that idea. right? Try to find another 4 or 5 people, ask the mates. I hope everybody's doing that. I hope everybody's finding that meaningful. Again, it doesn't need a whole prompt. It doesn't need a whole Shem Yichud Kitru Brichu. You don't need a warm up. You see someone, ask them, someone in shul, ask him, hey, you have any eitzes about how to spend Purim in a good way? How do you do your Purim Suda? Perfect question. There you got it, right? What special things do you do? And maybe you're on a higher level than the person. What special things do you do for Tainus Hester? Who knows what you're going to hear? What special things do you do on Purim? What do you guys do in your Purim Suda? What do you do for Shalach Manas? They say no. What's typical about Israel? And maybe I saw this post. More people are more concerned about where they're going to put their what are they going to make 40 shalach manos or not? Because how are they going to give them out in Israel today? So, unfortunately, the issues are more serious than that. But anyway, right? But ask someone. How do you spend the second day? I know what you guys do on Shushan Purim, right? But like, there's plenty to ask about people. What's your favorite part of the What's your favorite part of the Megillah? What do you which character do you relate to the most? You never know what kind of chachma someone's going to come at you in answering that question. I mean, if you don't ask, you're not going to know. So we got to continue with that. It's a good time to do it. And then I want to get some self-knowledge on this super important topic of Midas Bainis. Am I balanced? Am I a balanced person? Right? Here, listen to this one. Does my balance come from chachma or somewhere else? Maybe just like parv. It's not coming from chachma. If you are balanced, is it really coming from wisdom or is it coming from someone else? Because the Rambam is telling us that it's wisdom that's driving it, right? Where are my actions not coming from wisdom, right? What's going on? Where am I balanced? Where am I not balanced? In what things do I have a midas bainas and what things do I not? Okay, so that's all thinking about this. We'll try to take more, but I really feel in general that's the way to go. Is the first step always is try to get some self-knowledge about stuff, right? So I think it's before jumping into things, I always like to give a little self-knowledge about it, right? So keep asking Eitzah, and then everybody do some reflection more than I've given instruction to, but certainly not less than that, about you and the topic of balanced. Am I a balanced person? Does my balance come from Chachma or somewhere else? This concept, do I relate to that? Do I try to bring things into the middle? Do I know what it is to live in the middle? Where are my actions not coming from wisdom? When do I act with chacham? When do I not act with chacham? When do I act in a balanced way? When am I not balanced way? Am I emotional? Am I all over the place, etc.? Okay, do a deep dive into yourself. Go deep into it. Bezrat Hashem, that will keep us busy during this busy week, a special week. We should be zochah to after run. We should be zochah to see Yeshua's and the Chamas and safety for all Klal Yisrael. My pleasure. And everybody should see great things. Keep our eyes open. Yeshua Hashem. Baruch Hashem, we've seen it already, and we should continue to see Yeshua Hashem with no sorrows or difficulty for any member of Klal Yisrael, and much difficulty for our enemies. Shalom.
Amen. Shkach.